What is up, Mizzou fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com, covering your Missouri Tigers, and we just found out who Missouri's new permanent opponents are for the 9-game SEC schedule starting next season. We're going to be reacting to all that and more right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, Missouri Tigers fans, welcome back into another video on my channel. We got some big news to react to today as we finally got the permanent rivals list from On3's Chris Lowe. It was supposed to be revealed tomorrow on a big show on SEC Network. Well, someone got a hold of the information and they just went ahead and got the news out, got it out of the way. So we have now found out who the permanent opponents are for each SEC team with the new 9-game schedule. But this snippet is from Mizzou's On3 page, and it says On3's Chris Lowe has reported who each SEC team's 3 annual opponents will be ahead of Tuesday's official announcement. Excuse me. His report has the Tigers facing Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M each year for the next 4 seasons before the conference reevaluates the pairings. And then here's the graphic that the On3 Twitter account put out where you can see everything in a nice little picture. You see Missouri's 3 opponents there. Looking at some of the other rivals of Mizzou's on this list, you know, like South Carolina, you see they're playing Georgia, Florida, Kentucky. Kentucky's getting Florida, Tennessee, South Carolina, Tennessee. They draw Alabama, Kentucky, Vanderbilt. But yeah, I mean, I think the SEC actually got it right for the most part. There was a couple that they kind of messed up that it's just kind of like, okay, what were we thinking here? Missouri has one of them, which we'll touch on here in a second. One of the weird ones that stands out as well, and that SEC podcast was discussing this one earlier, but Oklahoma and Ole Miss, okay. Not really sure what the history there is between those 2 programs, but sure, whatever. Yeah. No, I think the first thing that every single Mizzou fan, though, thought as soon as they saw this and who Missouri's opponents were going to be, they thought, Texas A&M, what the heck? How does that make any sense? Arkansas and Oklahoma? Cool, awesome. Texas A&M? No. I think most Mizzou fans would have told you that they preferred the third rival to be South Carolina. And I think that one makes a ton of sense. It would have made a ton of sense because I think these are 2 programs that dislike each other. I think Shane Beamer and Eli Drinkwitz dislike each other. Us Mizzou fans, we hate Shane Beamer. South Carolina fans, I think, are jealous of the Missouri Tigers program. This is a game that when it takes place every year, whoever wins this game, I think usually goes on to have the better season of the 2. Like, this was a big game every year, swing game for both teams. The games are always entertaining, competitive between these 2. Like, that should have been Missouri's third rival. And I think everyone agrees with that. As far as the other 2, Arkansas, like that one, you had to put that one on there, right? Mizzou and Arkansas, they've kind of grown into a nice rivalry. It started out as being that forced rivalry at the beginning when Mizzou joined the SEC. Oh, they need an SEC rival. We'll make it Arkansas. And Arkansas is like, what? We don't want this. We don't want the new boys in the SEC being our rival. That makes it seem like you guys don't think we have a true rival in this league. Well, that's because you don't, Arkansas, because Ole Miss doesn't think about you at all. Texas, that's not a rival for you. Texas is way better than you. You could also make the argument that Mizzou shouldn't be a rival of Arkansas because it's too one-sided. But yeah, no, they're the little brother guys. Obviously, I think, you know, you had to have that one on there. It's grown into a nice rivalry. It was so forced that it actually became unforced after a while. And I think, you know, these are 2 schools that compete for the same recruits a lot. There's always interesting, fun storylines between these 2 programs, the 2 coaches. The states are close together. There's a trophy on the line in that game, the battle line rivalry. They call it that for a reason. So, yeah, that one always made sense. That Arkansas had to be one of the permanent rivals. Oklahoma, that was a big one, I think. You know, these are 2 teams from the Big 12 where there was a lot of hatred. And I think this rivalry has been renewed in a great way because Oklahoma historically has dominated Mizzou in football. There's no shying away from that. But I think Oklahoma kind of thought they were going to come into the SEC and just run over everybody. That's not what happened. Mizzou beat them last year with Drew Pine at quarterback, I should mention. And Eli Drinkwitz said it perfectly in the post-game presser after the win last year. Somebody tell Bob Stoops that Oklahoma doesn't already whoop Missouri's ass anymore. And this is, I think, turning into a fun rivalry in the SEC. With Mizzou coming over to the SEC in 2012 and Oklahoma coming over recently, you were losing some old historic Big 12, Big 8 rivalries, and getting Mizzou and Oklahoma hating each other again, playing each other in this league to create a unique new rivalry in the SEC. I think that's awesome. Again, these are two programs that compete for the same recruits a lot of fun storylines, a lot of jabbing at each other on social media. This one had to be on there for sure. And then lastly, again, Texas A&M. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense, man. It really does not. It's funny because they were talking to Mike Elko in his press conference he had earlier today, and they were asking him to react to the permanent rivals, and he ran through all of them, and then he got to Missouri, and he's like, I don't really understand that one. It's like, yep, we all feel the same way. And he wasn't being disrespectful towards Missouri or anything, but I think he even thought, like, what? Like, there's no bad blood between these two programs. Like, yeah, they came over from the Big 12 or whatever. And I think that's why the SEC did this. They're like trying to keep the Big 12 together. And it's like, I just feel like, again, this shows that the rest of the league doesn't truly accept Missouri. The SEC doesn't have a pulse on Missouri as a program. They don't have a pulse on Texas A&M or Missouri in this scenario because there's just no bad blood between these two programs. I mean, sure, maybe Texas A&M is still salty about the times that Missouri beat them when they first joined the SEC, and we beat them when they had Johnny Manziel. But Texas A&M has taken care of Missouri the previous two times these teams have met. There's not really a ton of bad blood. I don't know. I just don't feel a lot of hatred there. And even if it wasn't going to be South Carolina instead of Texas A&M, there's still several other teams that I would have chosen to be Missouri's third rival before I got to Texas A&M. I think you could make the case that Kentucky would have been a good rival for Mizzou. I mean, that's one where they always played close games. Drinkwitz versus Stoops. It's a good coaching matchup, or has been in recent years when they played. You could make the argument that Kentucky, or sorry, not Kentucky, just said Kentucky. Tennessee is a much better rival than Texas A&M. There's a lot of hatred between those two fan bases. There's bad blood between Josh Heupel and Eli Drinkwitz. That would have made for a much more interesting one. There's just a lot of teams that I would have put before Texas A&M, but I understand what the SEC was trying to do here. It's not the worst thing in the world. And look, I think when you look at this from the angle of, was this a favorable outcome for Missouri as far as, being able to win with this schedule? I think the answer is yeah. You can deal with Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M, and you should, and you need to. Like, you can't run away from anyone in this league. Like, and I think that's the great thing about the new 9-game SEC schedule is you get rid of one of the cupcake games and you put an SEC team in there instead. You play 9 SEC games. It's going to create stronger resumes to get more SEC teams in the playoff, I think. It's just going to be overall good for the league. Like, I think everyone is in favor of this 9-game SEC schedule. And you're going to end up playing everyone anyways. And that's why this ultimately doesn't matter too much that Texas A&M was named the third opponent for Mizzou, because you're going to play everyone on a rotating schedule. You'll most likely still play South Carolina every other year or something like that. And the main reason they decided to do this was because we were getting those weird stretches where teams would go 8 years without playing each other in the SEC. Just that shouldn't be happening, man. Everyone should play each other, and everyone will play each other over the course of 4 years. That's what this was designed to do. And I think it's also important to note, again, going back to that snippet, that the Tigers, with the permanent opponents they have now, it'll be that way for the next 4 seasons. And then the conference is going to reevaluate the pairings in 4 years, meaning that this is subject to change. But for now, this is who Mizzou will play. And I think it is favorable. If you want to reach your goals in this league, you have to beat teams like Arkansas, Oklahoma, and A&M. And it could have been much worse. You could have drawn Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, LSU. You're not playing any of those teams. Could have been worse. It really could have been worse, guys. So I'm not complaining too much. It just feels like a little bit that the SEC still doesn't quite have a pulse on Missouri. We're just kind of overlooked. No one really pays attention to us, but hey, that's fine. We're S-type. Drinkwitz has instilled that into all of us. I think it's awesome. I think for the most part, they got it right, but subject to change. It's fine. Not a big deal. So that's all I got. Those are my thoughts on Mizzou's permanent rivals for the next 4 years as the new SEC 9-game schedule takes place starting next year. I want to hear from you guys down in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Missouri's permanent 3 opponents? Were you disappointed? Are you okay with it? Definitely want to hear from you guys. So let me know in the comments. With all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Mizzou fans can find this. Make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com for more. And last but not least, follow me on Twitter at ShowMeFB. And before we go, make sure you guys check out W. I'm partnered with them here on the channel. New energy drink that has been taking the market by storm because instead of the typical caffeinated energy drinks that unfortunately I got in the bad habit of drinking, this contains coffee fruit extract. That's the main ingredient, and it's much healthier and avoids the post-caffeine crash and jitter that you get with those other drinks on the market. W is much healthier, a much more natural alternative. And the best part about it is that you can get 10% off using my promo code down in the description below. So definitely go and check out that, take advantage of that sale. But other than that, guys, that's all I got for this one. I'll see you all in the next one. And as always, MIZ.